Joining us now, Mike Faulkner, former Deputy Treasury Secretary, E.J. Antoni, Heritage Foundation Chief Economist, and Jim Urio, TJM Institutional Services Managing Director. Welcome to all. EJ, I think we could do it. I think we could get 5%. And I think everybody is underestimating the power of Trump's program. And by the by, probably an unexpected surprise, the power of a one-third drop in oil prices on inflation. I just don't see anybody writing this or talking about this nearly as much as we should. Anyway, what you think?
Larry, I think you raised such a great point. We really underestimate just how much energy affects the price of everything we do and everything we buy.
Right.
And so you're absolutely right. Getting those prices down, it's going to reduce input prices throughout the economy. That's huge. We also have full business expensing next year. I mean, you're going to see another investment boom just like you saw after the first Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. And you know what? The inverse is true. The opposite, I guess you could say, is true. When those different business tax provisions went away under the Biden administration, when they were allowed to expire, what happened? Investment dropped. So putting them back into place, and in fact going even further, is going to cause a bigger investment boom this time than it did last time.
Wow. Mike Faulkner, you were the guy years ago that talked about the importance of oil dominating. I'm just looking at my list. I had to fish through my folder. Aspirin, cassettes, cell phones, clothes, fertilizers. That's big for food, right? Golf balls, golf bags. Jay Powell, he's going to need his golf bag when he retires from the Fed, thank heavens. Hearing aids, hula hoops. I don't know. We haven't done hula hoops in quite some time. Pajamas, pantyhose, parachutes, pharmaceuticals. I don't know. I got 2 pages here of items. We're down about a third in energy.
Right.
And I think it's just, there are other things happening in the CPI. Shelter's going to be coming down because the border is closed and there's self-deportation. But just on the oil point, Faulkner, this is huge. No one has got this right yet. It's got to be major. People are fiddling around. Well, was yesterday's report on the CPI, I know there were problems with it in November and October. I know that, blah, 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 blah. But here's one thing no one said. In that thing, they had gasoline prices up 3%. That's just the dumbest thing because of seasonal adjustments. Gasoline prices are falling all across the country. You know that. That is going to boost the economy, and it's going to absolutely depress inflation. Absolutely depress inflation. You got zero inflation. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm entirely in agreement with you, Larry, because as you said, the reduction in oil prices is going to flow throughout the entire economy because you've got all of the inputs that you just discussed that have petroleum products that go into them. You've got the transportation of those products to final usage of them. You've got, the electricity component. The fertilizer component is huge. If you want to bring down beef prices, if you want to bring down corn prices, then fertilizer is going to come down in price. And so, and if you couple that with the impacts of deregulation. I think one of the things that we always need to remember is that there is a lag between when government policy goes into place and when the real economy realizes it. And so all of these things that we were doing from the onset of this second Trump administration are really going to start to be felt next year. It's not just that the tax refunds are going to be larger, it's that all of that deregulation is going to find its way in, the reductions in interest rates that the Fed has already engaged in and more to come. All of those things are going to simultaneously be realized by the American consumer in 2026, which is why I tend to agree with you that there are a lot of tailwinds out there for the economy. And let me make 2 other points.
Quickly.
Number one, it's low inflationary. I think that's it. We can the whole Phillips curve notion that if you're going to get that kind of growth, it's necessary inflationary is absolutely not the case. And the second thing is the artificial intelligence piece that is entirely facilitated by reductions in electricity prices. That also is going to facilitate enormous productivity that will flow through to wages.
And look, with inflation coming down, interest rates are going to follow. That's just, as day follows night. Even Jim Urio would agree with that. By the way, I found some more while you guys were talking. Computer keyboards, computer monitors, eyeglasses. You mentioned fertilizers. That's very important. Hearing aids. People need hearing aids because nobody listens to anything anymore. Anyway, iPhones, iPads, laptops, lipstick, Wow, luggage, model cars. I mean, Jim, this is unbelievable. It's, by the way, this is from the U.S. Energy Department. Go on their website, and you'll see all these things that are affected by oil prices. Now, Mr. Urio, market specialist that you are, one of my points here about a 5% economy is the behavior of the stock markets. We are booming. We have been booming this year. From the lows of early April, where there was some confusion about trade, we're up, I don't know, 35, 40%, 45%, depends on which sector you take. The Russell 2000 is booming. Transportation stocks are booming. Every darn thing is booming. If you own your 401k and invest passively, you're getting rich. My point is, the stock market is saying business next year and the year after is going to be terrific. That's my point.
Okay, so I'm about to say something that's going to make you think I'm disagreeing with you, and I'm not. I'm totally 80% agreement. I assume I've been invited here to say where the potholes are. I'm a bond guy. We are pessimists. You know that. Also, I'm getting my wife a golf bag for Christmas, and I'm picking it up tomorrow. So does your little sheet say that it's going to be cheaper for me tomorrow? I'm hoping that's the case. That's
yes.
Good.
Yes.
Okay, here's the two problems. Is that one, in the short term, and possibly even the medium term, the labor market is weak. Now, it's in my opinion, it's probably related to AI in one of two ways. One is that these companies are using AI to become efficient and not adding headcount. But two, and this is the more important part, is I think they think it's going to be a more powerful tool than they are, and they've slowed down in hiring. And they may pivot on that relatively soon. But it's not that unusual for a new disruptive technology to affect the labor market in the short term. I believe in Adam Smith in the long term. The second thing is the AI trade itself that is evolving and transforming before our eyes. And so far, the NASDAQ's only down 4%, despite the fact that Oracle's down 40%, NVIDIA's down 19%. A lot of the tier 2 Kirkland brand AI trades are losing a lot, but it's morphing into other things. The Russell made all-time highs on December 12th. That's unambiguously a good thing. The only thing I'm saying here is that broadening may become somewhat inelegant in the next couple of weeks because stock markets don't like transformation. If we have a hard time there, it might be a wealth effect thing. Plus the labor market. Those are the only two downsides, I think. Everything else, I think, is unambiguously good. Deregulation, lower taxes, investment coming to our shores. I love it.
EJ, I just want to say, I've known Urio so long, and he does radio investment stuff for us. Those are terrible points he's making. Just awful points. I mean,
I
really.
smelled an ambush the whole time here.
We had David Sachs from the White House. He's the AI guru. And there is no evidence that AI is on net costing us jobs. There is no. I know there's pessimists out there, and you get a bond guy like Urio who's picking up some lousy column that some obscure financial writer wrote 3 weeks ago. But the fact remains, there's no evidence of that. Now, labor market may be a little soft for a while because of the immigration story. There's transitions going on. Although I think if you're going to build factories, I mean, Trump loves factories. A lot of Trump's whole plan is to get factories booming. I mean, the pharmaceutical story is typical. Do it here so you don't have to pay tariffs, right? Mm-hmm. And build a factory. If you build a factory, what do? You hire people, and then you pay them good wages, right? That's what's behind this boom. That's what Urio's just completely missing in his flawed analysis.
Well, Larry, I do think there is some labor market weakness, but I think it's really concentrated in two areas. One, among foreign-born workers, and two, right, federal government bureaucrats. Right. Those are the groups where we're seeing job losses right now. In terms of Americans working in the private sector, overall, you're seeing net growth. You have this entire year. So
about 200, don't mean to cut in, but about 270,000 federal workers off the payroll temporarily. They're not out of the employment game. They're just off the payroll. They're shifting. And they're doing it voluntarily, and they're getting a good severance pay. So now they will migrate themselves back in as workers. So those numbers will go up. I mean, we still have a little more than 160 million civilian population in our labor force. It's unbelievable. 160. Faulkner, I think it's 163 million. You might know more about that than I. But I'm just saying it's a humongous number. So you get these little clips, 270,000 federal workers. The immigration thing's bigger. We've lost about 1 million, I think the number is close to 1 million, whereas the domestic-born, native-born is plus 2.5 million. But that stuff, that's not big stuff. I'm talking about major major league business investment, capital spending, building factories. Meanwhile, while prices come down because of productivity and because of oil and energy and other commodities. That's what I'm talking about. Trump wants a factory boom, and I think he's going to get it. Mike Faulkner, I think he might get it. I'm betting that he's going to get a factory boom, the way his program is set up.
Yeah, Larry, we are, and I think we should look upon labor market churn as ultimately a good thing. Every time we have had a major technological revolution in this country, we have ultimately had more employment, not less, and people end up doing things that are more productive. And when we start reducing federal employment, you know, a lot of the growth in the job market under the Biden administration was growth of government and government-adjacent industries. Right. And what President Trump is doing is restructuring the economy back to a private sector, growth-led approach that is going to ultimately bring in more production, stronger national security here, and greater independence so that we don't have countries like China leveraging their manufacturing sector and holding us hostage were we to need pharmaceuticals or productive equipment or computer chips.
You know, that's the thing, Jim Uriel, all this is being backed up by record profits. Profits are the mother's milk of stocks, and profits are the lifeblood of the entire economy. And I keep watching and waiting for the profit numbers, the forward-looking numbers to crash, and they don't crash. Profits have done more than, that's the backbone of this stock market rally. And I think that's because, we're cutting taxes, deregulating, and knocking down energy prices. Now, that is all good for profits, Uriel. You can redeem yourself now on this second point that I'm raising with you.
Listen, this is me being rosy on the economic picture. I'm rosy. One thing I'll point to with EJ is that I think getting rid of all the government employees is a fantastic thing too, but we would all agree that the pace at which that happens is somewhat important. If it happens too quickly, it could be disruptive. And I know they're getting back pay and things like that, which will ease the blow for sure. But the oil story is absolutely fantastic. And the fact that it continues to go down, it's amazing. I'm just saying in the short term, and to Mr. Faulkner's point, there could be some labor market weakness in the short term. Eventually, we'll rework our workforce, and it'll be a boom and a good thing. But just be careful.
5% growth, EJ, possible?
100%,
no,
absolutely.
Really? Why are more people talking about that? It is possible. I'm not saying, every year, every quarter, but I think moving into, it's really Mr. Trump's own reimagining of capitalism. It's really, some of it he's got government in there. You and I might not be thrilled about that, but mostly it's incentives to invest and take risks. He's saying, go ahead, take a swing at the ball. I want you to succeed. I believe in success, and I believe you should be rewarded for it. Obama and Biden and these lefties have always said, no, you should be penalized for it. Trump says, no, go out there and do everything you want to do, and I'm going to let you keep much more of what you earn.
Exactly. It goes back to the old saying, if you want more of something, you incentivize it, right? If you want less of something, you just tax it.
Right.
So you're reducing taxes on business investment, you're reducing taxes on working, like no tax on tips, no tax on overtime.
Yes.
We've already seen a CapEx boom, as the Treasury Secretary has pointed out.
Yes, Besson is absolutely right. In a way, it's all coming at the same time. But the icing on the cake, what's really new is the collapse in oil prices. It's just fascinating, and it comes out of left field. Drill, baby, drill. I'll tell you, we're doing close to 14 million barrels a day. That is extraordinary. That's why we got 5% growth coming up. Mike Faulkner, thank you, my friend. EJ Antoni, Jim Uriel, good luck. See you on the radio as soon as possible.